always right, but then sometimes I wonder about what you do. So, but I don't ever wonder about what I do. I know I'm always right. The Mr. Jean, like I said, was real brave to invite me. I'm probably one of the most hard-headed people in the world. I'd argue with the devil himself. Pardon me, no, there was no integration at all. I should have mentioned that. I didn't take the mention.
Integration didn't happen until 69 cents.
The junior high cheerleaders will not be able to practice at this recess. Practice has been canceled for the junior high cheerleaders.
It was real pathetic. The black children went to a school that wasn't fit to go in. It was a sin, and that's the truth. We didn't have integration, and it was too late coming. People can criticize it and everything, but there was no justification for it, except it's the way everybody been brought up. And nobody was really mean. It's just that that's the way it had always been done, and change comes slow. But it did come, and it was a good thing. I got severely criticized because I had a lot of black friends. I'd go play in what we call the quarters then. I'm not trying to use a term that would insult anybody, but we called it a quarter. So I would go play with it. I got criticized. I lost white friends because I did. But I'll tell you, I was always an independent, hard-headed bird. And well, my sixth grade teacher, I think, helped me with that. At least impressed it on my mind. One day, we had a discussion, and there were two sides. And she would ask everybody in the class to vote, just like this deal we had on TV. Which side are you for, the lady or the man? You know? So everybody had an opinion. About 50-50 in the class. So, and she did this intentionally. I didn't know what she was doing. But thank God I did it my way because I felt real proud. She said, well, I think it was this way, and she explained why. So now she's took another vote. Everybody raised their hand but old Joe. And when she said everybody believes that the other side was right, she said, why? I told her why. So she gave me an 8. I could get me an 8. She gave me an 8 just because I stuck by my guns. So I've been sticking by my guns ever since. And I'll argue with the telephone poles if I think I'm right. And but I'd like to think that if you convince me I'm not right, I'll concede your point. Well, Darryl and I are real good friends. I respect him. I think he respects me. Probably invited me here, but we don't always agree. Not even half of the time, probably. But that's good average for me. If you disagree with me a little less than half of the time, you're about average.
Thank you, Mr. Toups. We really enjoyed it. Alumni, or sometimes some hours too, alumni come in to speak to us about their experiences as students at Basile High School. What was it like when they were in school? And that's what they're going to relate to you. This hour, we have Debbie Ortigo Miller, who graduated in 1977 with me, and Claiborne Miller, who graduated in 1972. Yeah, that's Justin's father, right? And they're going to talk to you about what school was like while they were in school. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. They'll be glad to share with you how things were during their days at Basile High School. And of course, that's what homecoming is all about, welcoming alumni back. So we want to welcome Debbie and Clay back and give them a nice round of applause.
Miller or Claiborne Miller, Justin's dad. Things I can recollect about Basile, I want to start with elementary. One of the few things was like going to church. We would go to church every Wednesday morning. All the students would go to church. The girls would sit on the left side of church, and the boys would sit on the right side. There was no mixing in that. And then also we had one day during the week in elementary we'd go to catechism, and it was during school hours. It wasn't after school. We'd go over there, and then I don't know what the other students would do. I guess they have a free hour or something. I really don't know what happened. So that's one of the things. And then playing at recess, we used to get pretty physical. We had a lot of tackle tag. We'd play, and then football season came around. We'd play football, and it was always tackle. The teachers would let us play tackle. Now I understand they don't want us to tackle, but they let us do it back then. Not too many people got hurt too bad anyway. Let's see. Moving up to high school, the old high school building. The boys had a staircase. There was 2 staircases going up the stairs. It had a north side and a south side. And the boys had the north side staircase, and the girls had the south side staircase. And I don't really know why they wouldn't let us mix. I guess reason being because on the south side is where the girls' bathroom was, and on the north side is where the boys' bathroom was, so that the boys wouldn't be walking by the girls' bathroom, I
there too.
Yeah, that was a good reason, because the girls wore mini skirts about up to here. It's kind of embarrassing for them to go up and down the stairs with boys around. Oh, you didn't figure that out? It wasn't embarrassing to us, though, was it? Okay, we didn't have any air conditioning in the school. It was pretty hot, especially in the summer months. I can remember in Mr. Landry's class was on the east side of the building in the front, upstairs. It was pretty hot, and we had it like after dinner, and everybody was pretty full from after dinner, the ones that ate the food. And it was, everybody, you know, it's time to go to sleep up there, I guess, you know, and it was too hot to go to sleep even. But it was good, and Mr. Landry was an excellent teacher. He was really thorough in his teaching. He would stay on it was math class, advanced math, and he'd stay on a certain part of that math class until everybody had it. In other words, I don't think there was anybody that failed his class. He stayed with it. It made it easier for the ones who got it a little easier. You understood it, they could, you know, take breaks or help the other ones out and give the others time to catch up. It made it easier for them. Debbie, you ready? Okay, pep rallies in that school, they were really great. Was in the gym most of the time. Except on Sunny days, sometimes we'd go outside, and for like homecoming, it was outside. Everyone would go in the front of school around the flagpole, and the band was out there, and it really make a big noise. It was pretty good. Like after the homecoming parade, everybody would come back in front of school, and we'd have our pep rally then. And then, like during the pep rallies, the captain and the co-captain would get up and talk to the student body, and one of the seniors would come up. So there's usually three of them that come up and talk, and they take turns every week. A different senior would come up with the captain and the co-captain and talk to everybody. During homecoming week, it was like, I don't know, it was like party week, but not really party. It's like you get out of class and to go work on your floats and stuff like that. And just about every night we were going somewhere to work on a float at someone's house. So that was pretty neat. It got you know, you got to get out of the house, got an excuse to get out of the house at night and run around town, I guess. So I remember one time some girls stole some barbed wire from the lumber yard that used to be in Basile, a roll of barbed wire. Of course, I don't want to promote stealing, but I guess kids do that any age. I mean, it did back in my time anyway. But homecoming was pretty good, and like after the games, the football games, I played on the football team the junior and senior year, and after the game, the girl would usually, like during school, she'd go and ask one of the boys if she could walk them off the field, and that's not homecoming, but any game, and that was all right for us, so we'd say yeah, and they'd get a big kick out of it. So they'd come on the field after the game, and they'd walk us off. One other thing about football, we had pretty good teams back then. I don't remember exactly. I think it was 6-4 or 7-3 our senior year. I don't remember exactly what it was. And one of the things that made our football program good was there was no really standout. There was a couple of standout, real physical guys on the team who were really good athletes, but they didn't make you feel like they were better than you. Everybody like pulled together. If there was a guy on the team who came on and you knew he wasn't as good as the rest, but he had to play because there wasn't nobody else, the guys like picked up for them, you know, like pulled his slack if he wasn't as good as the rest. So they kind of, you know, they didn't, like if he made a mistake, they expected it, you know, they didn't jump on him and say, you know, you can do better than this, or jump on him and say, come on man, let's get him this time, we're going to get him this time, you know. They kind of would help the guys along. It wouldn't, you know, I hear stuff coming back that the guys nowadays are saying, what's the matter, I can't do better than that, or down. That's not going to help anybody. I think if you give some encouragement, it's always better than, you know, trying to degrade somebody. And I think maybe that's one of the things that we lack in here at Basile is people trying to pull together. It's not a bunch of individuals out there, it's a team. You can't do it with 9 or 10 people. You have to do it with 11, you know. And that's the only way you can do it is everybody pull together. I don't know if we got a football player, I guess we got a few of them in here. But that's one of the things about my senior year. We had a game we went to in Morgan City. We went and played Morgan City over there. We left, I guess it was in the morning hours. We left to go over there. It's a long drive. We got over there and we played, I think it was a AAA school, and they were supposed to be real good. And we went out there and we beat them by 3 points. And Franklin Hop kicked the field goal. That's what made us win the game. And everybody was so excited that I don't know if it's Mr. Elford or who, but I think the school put up the money and rented us a motel. And we stayed over there in Morgan City that night in the motel. And a lot of the guys on the team had never been in a motel or hotel before. I know one guy, he went in the bathroom, and he put the light on what he thought was the light was one of these heat lamps they have in the bathroom to keep you warm. And he came out of there, he was dripping wet because he had sweated so much. He thought it was the light, and he didn't know any better. He'd never been in a hotel. But that was really exciting, and I remember we had called. They didn't know, some of the guys didn't know how the phones worked, and a few of us knew, so we called next door and we said we were the sheriff department. We was right across the road from the hotel, and we told them that there was a wild bear loose in the parking lot, and no one to get out of the rooms. And man, the drape, you could go outside and everybody's closing. It was looking outside. So it was country come to town. You know, it was pretty exciting back then. Well, we had, you know, football. I guess the reason why now football's on my mind because this time of the year for it, and it's a good time of the year. The weather's cool and all. It's not hot like it usually is. Kind of get everybody kind of excited. You know, I guess maybe that's the football thing too. But it was a great time of the year. I think in Basile is one of the better times of the year than any other time. You know, because I guess there's so much going on. You know, basketball season is kind of like a little low profile than football. Football is more like center stage, I guess you could say. But it was good. And our senior year, junior year we had went to the playoffs and we lost against Goretti. I don't know if you ever watched Goretti. It's in Lake Arthur where we played over there. A heartbreaker game. We lost that one. But anyway. Back then we had ag, which was the building across the shop. We had ag in the back, and I was in ag and FHA. FFA, I was the president of FFA, and we had competition at USL where some people would go judge animals from sheep, the cows, the hogs, the chickens, and some of us would they had mechanics, and then I was in welding. I was the welder of the bunch, so I had to compete in welding. And after all that, we'd go to the bowling alley there in the mall in Lafayette, and we'd all go bowling, which was pretty good because, like I said, you know, back then, people didn't get out, you know, go bowling like nowadays. Y'all might take off and go on a weekend or something, but back then we didn't do those kind of things. Everybody kind of stay around home. And then I was being as president of the FFA, I went to the state convention in Shreveport. We stayed over there for, I guess we was like there for 4 days. I gotta understand it's been almost 20 years. I don't remember this stuff too well. But that was pretty good. It was me and Ignatius Leonard, Mr. Blaze Leonard, one of his sons. We went and we stayed over there. It was by ourselves. We went with Mr. Oscar Reed. He was our ag teacher, but we didn't see him too much. He was gone. So he kind of left us there on our own, and we did pretty good for us because Shreveport's a pretty big city, you know, and we were stuck out there by ourselves, so we did all right.
Tell them a little bit about what FFA was. We don't have that here anymore.
Future Farmers of America is what it is, and we kind of, everything is oriented around farming, you know, with animals and, you know, ground stuff. We would go out and have projects we work on, like we go and shear sheep for some people. Mr. Persian Young, the man who owns the land where the nursing home's at, he had some sheep, so we'd go shear his sheep. And then we'd go, like people had trees that needed to be poisoned for worms, we'd go out and poison the trees. And one time we went work cows for somebody, so we did that. So it was mostly oriented around agricultural stuff like that. So that was always interesting. And mostly what we do besides that was weld in the shop, and then they would do some mechanic work and stuff like that. But that's about what we did there. Clothes, what we'd wear back then. If you wore a shirt, which you had to wear a shirt, it had to be inside your pants. You had to wear a belt. You had to wear socks. If you had loafers on or something where your ankles would show, you had to wear socks. And your hair had to be short. Of course, in my senior year was whenever the long hair was installed, so everybody's kind of letting it go, and we try and push our luck, see how far we could get with it. And I don't know, Mr. Elk was pretty tough. He wouldn't let too much of that get by.
What was the rule? How long could, because I remember hearing the old, like if it gets a call or something like that, what did he use as a rule?
I remember the earlobe. There was something about it couldn't come below your earlobe.
I don't really know, but we just, my daddy would let mine grow long to begin with, but I'd let it grow long as much as I could, but we never did let it get much over the years. And they had some that let it grow, but if it got down like here, it was cooked. You know.
I'd be out. Tooth there.
Oh yeah.
For me,
You would be cutting your hair tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
But and the girls, I think there was a rule on their dresses how short they could be. Somebody had said like 3 inches over the knee, couldn't be no shorter than that. I think is what it was.
It used to be put your arms straight and your fingertips.
Yeah, it depends where you figure. That's what Christine told us this morning. She said you put your arm, depending on how short you were, how long your legs were, so you put your fingertips down and your, it has to be about there.
Yeah.
Some pushed it, yeah.
They were pretty short.
Depends on how.
But the short skirts are very much in style then too.
Yeah, they were. It was bad in the wintertime.
For who?
And I don't know if the girls would wear pants to school. I'm sure they would, some kind of slack or something. I don't know. Where was that? The dress. Okay, pretty much covered that, I guess. Athletic. We had no proms, and we had no sweetheart dances and nothing like that. What happened was my I think it was my sophomore year. It's whenever the schools integrated, and I guess they were afraid to mix the two colors at proms and all that, so we had none of that. They just did away with all that. I guess the parents were afraid, you know, and they said that what might happen. And really, at school there was no tension. I think there's more tension now between the two races as there was back then. They had a few fights, but the fights that were had was somebody dared somebody to fight with somebody. More or less what happened. It's not that those people just started, you know, hating each other or anything racist. I think it was just more that dare, because they were curious. Everybody was curious because, you know, we didn't mix before, and that was the main thing, curiosity and wanted to see what the other race is all about, I guess, you know. And that was the main reason, I think, for not having the proms or the sweetheart dances. In fact, senior trips, we didn't have any senior trips either. We couldn't have that. What we did have was an athletic banquet, and we had a junior-senior banquet, which the athletic banquet was kind of like nowadays. They serve a meal and everything. Junior-senior banquet, the juniors would throw a banquet for the seniors, and they would decorate the gym, and I think it was the sophomores and freshmen that would do the serving of the food that night for the banquet. So it was like everybody was like waiting on the seniors. It was pretty prestigious, you know. It was nice. And then that's about it. They would give little things, and then they read. I think that's the night they would read the prophecy in that too. And the juniors would say something to the seniors like, "So and so is going to go on and be something," and try and make a joke out of it, you know. And then the seniors would say they were leaving something for the juniors and try and make a joke towards them or pick at them in some kind of way. I think they might have some things back there. If Debbie wants to read something, she might be able to. That's about it. I got to pick up a battery. I see right here. I got my notes right there.
Do you miss high school?
Huh?
Do you miss high school?
Did I miss high school? Or do I miss high school? High school was a good time. It was a good time in my life. I think the thing about high school is, you know, you think you've got problems now with your homework and your tests and all that. But that is really nothing when you get out of school. And I've heard this because people came back and told me that when I was in school, and I thought it was crazy, you know. They said, I figured it had to be easy once you got out. But it's a lot harder once you get out because you got the problems of the rest of the world. You know, you got to get out and make a living or bear children or raise a family or whatever you have to do, you know. But in high school, really all you got to do is worry about going, making a grade, and coming home and being a cheerleader. And, you know, those are really not too bad. And when I look back, yeah, that was a good time to be, you know, that was a good time in my life. High school was a good time. Of course, there was the problems too, the heartbreaks and all that, but those are part of life. Any other questions? Okay, Dad, it's all yours.
I'll start from elementary. The first thing that I can remember is like Clay said, us going to church on Wednesdays. That was our designated day. Everybody would go to Mass on Wednesday mornings. And on the pews, they had first grade, second grade, all the way to high school. And it was an older church where you had sides that had little pews, and everybody would go to Mass. We'd go to catechism during class time. And one of the things that I can remember in elementary, when we go to the library, we had to come to the high school building to go to the library, and it was the old red building, 2-story, and you had to be real quiet when you went to the library because the high school had class going on, and that was the only time we go through the girls' entrance, the whole class, and had that old brown, oily floor, and it would squeak the whole time you went up there, and they had a little lady named Miss Anderson. To me, she was 80 years old then when she was the librarian. She was an old lady. And we'd go to the library then. You had to be real quiet so not to disturb them. And we'd all peek in to see what the high school were doing. They looked so much older than everybody else, you know. And in 7th grade, one of the things that I can remember is decorating for homecoming. That's one of the first things that I can remember about homecoming. We had Miss Bobby Smith. She was Coach Leslie Smith. He was the head coach at the time, his wife, and she was our homeroom teacher. And she thought it would have been a good idea for the 7th grade class to get together and put something in the parade. So we thought, and we had this little Volkswagen Bug, and our whole class got together, and for, I know, 2 to 3 weeks, we did nothing but take toilet paper and make flowers out of this toilet paper. One person would go around and we'd staple, and she'd give us free time. And we had big old bags and nothing but these carnations made out of Shorman tissue. And then one day, for 2 days, we went decorate at our house at night. And they lived just across the tracks. I don't even know who lives there, the greenhouse by the Esso, just before you come down there. We'd go decorate, and we took the little Volkswagen Bug and we decorated it in a flower. And now you remember what the theme was?
Bug and Bear Cat. I saw a
Bear
picture of
Cat.
it just
Is that the
yesterday. I found
picture you
it.
showed us the other day?
Yeah, I showed it to some of the
Okay,
kids.
well that's what we did, and
It was completely covered.
Completely covered.
Completely
And
covered.
the headlights were made into eyelashes. They had some eyelashes on the headlights, so it looked like a big white bug
The
coming
only
down the road.
thing that we had placed for was our poster. That was it, and it hung on each side. It was beautiful, and we won first place.
7th grade was first.
Well, we won first place, and we were so proud that we got first place over the seniors, juniors, and everybody. And it was really pretty, if I have to say so myself. It looked good. So that was one of our first things that we did as a class, as a whole. And as we got into high school, our class always felt, the guys in your class, you felt like, to me, were more like a brother to you than anything else. You really felt this closeness to your class. And we did a lot of things together as a class. We always stayed together. When we got into high school, the freshmen didn't have a tree. The freshmen got the sidewalk. They had the senior tree here, the junior tree, and the sophomores had a tree, but the freshmen didn't have nothing. So you just hung around on the sidewalk pretending like you were talking to somebody the whole recess. It was really boring. And then
Miss Carolyn and John, when you come to the office, please.
as you got older, you got your
Miss Carolyn and
designated
John,
tree.
come to the office.
And once I hit into high school, things really started happening. I met my husband. I was in 9th grade, and Gary was in 10th. He had flunked general science, and he had to take it again with the freshmen. So that's how I first met him, and we dated all through high school. Then my freshman year, we had sing-out tryouts, and it was different than what y'all have it today, because you had to go and try out. And they had a room full of kids that were trying out from freshmen on to seniors that hadn't made it. And they had people like Mr. Elford, the principal, Mr. Andropon, Mrs. Andropon. I don't remember who all. And you went to practice for several weeks, and then the night of sing-out tryouts, they'd come around and you were doing your motions and all this, and they'd put their ear right there by your mouth to hear what you were singing, if you could, sing good. And it was really hard. It was one of the hardest things that you had to do. Plus, you had to sit down and write a 2-page report on why you wanted to be in sing-out. Well, a lot of them really didn't know why you wanted to be in sing out. You looked up to the others that went in sing out, and you knew they went on a lot of trips, and it looked like a lot of fun. Then the next day, you didn't know if you made it or not. You had to sit by the phone right after school, and they said, if you get it, we'll call you. And it was one of the longest waits ever because you were sitting right there by the phone, and I remember hearing the phone ring, and it was Miss Andrepon that called and told me, said, Debbie, you made sing out. And I was so excited, and then you had to wait and hear from your other friends because you didn't want to call in case they hadn't made it. And sure enough, there was only 3 of the girls out of our class that made it as freshmen, but later on, the others ended up making it. You really felt bad for the ones that didn't get chosen, you know. So that kept us busy on Monday nights from 6:30 to 8:30, same thing. We had sing out. Then my freshman year, one of the things you had to do was go to catechism on Wednesday nights. And I was lucky. I had a friend that lived down the road. We lived in the country, and that was unheard of, going back and forth to town all the time. So she was a senior, so she took me under her wing, and she'd bring me to catechism on Wednesday nights. Then I joined basketball for 4 years. And that was one of the first times that you ever felt like being a part of a group as a team. We started off our freshman year. We don't have it like y'all do now with bitty basketball on down. We were freshmen, and we were playing like with Miss McClellan Patsy next door, and her sister Nanette, and they were really good basketball players. And here you are, freshmen, and the whole time all you do during your practice is run after the balls because you can't run and keep a ball under control. You've never done this before. So that was really the first time of being a part of a team for me. And the boys' basketball coach was Coach Mack, and they were always doing well. He was fantastic about your team spirit, helping each other. You never argued when one of your players did something wrong. It was never their fault. You felt like a team. When you had the senior year, I remember when Nanette was the only senior on our team, and we were freshmen. And afterwards, we had this big guy, Coach Ronnie Shawno, and he was a big coach. And he had gone out and he had made a cake. He had made his wife make her a cake, and we all went to the dressing room afterwards. And she cried and cried. It was her last game that she played in, and everybody cried in the dressing room. It was really something special, things that you don't forget. And every year he did that to whoever it was that was leaving as part of the team. And then I was also a member of the band for 10 years. I hated the uniforms we had. They were hot, black, they were ugly, they were horrible. And she had rules. It was Miss Bajon. No girl could wear jewelry when you marched in the band. I never understood why. Your hair had to be up. You looked like a boy. You looked horrible. It was ridiculous, the rules. But you had to abide by the rules. You had to wear white tennis shoes, you know. And then we wore clothes underneath the uniform. So when after we had a parade, we shed off these black uniforms to go walk around where you were doubly hot when you had long jeans underneath. And one of the reasons I stayed in band for so long was to try out for majorette. Well, the last year, my junior year, we tried out, and I was alternate. We had to go to McNeese. She'd round up whoever wanted to try out, and you had to go in front of the McNeese. Who was she? It wasn't the girls. It was the woman who headed the McNeese band department and who taught the majorettes and all this. So we'd go to McNeese for a whole day, and you had to go up there by yourself in a little band room about this size, and there was others that were trying out sitting down. You had to sit there and blow your whistle, do like you were conducting a band, or if you were trying out for majorette, you had to play a record, and you had to twirl your baton the whole time, toss it up in the air, and things like this. And it was really fun. And then we had majorette camp that we go to during the summer, and that was really fun. Then homecoming, our senior year, we always had a great time decorating because it was party week for us during homecoming. You got to get out of classes a little bit more easily. As far as for Fridays, you had no class at all. You just go report to school, and you tell your teacher, I need to go to Staggs down the road and get some crepe paper. And it was nothing for them to sit down and write you an excuse, and you go walk to the store, and we'd come back and we'd decorate all morning long. And the seniors always decorated at Mars Construction down here. That's where their designated place was to decorate. And other than that, you go to people's houses, whoever, your junior year, sophomore year, whatever, you'd always get together and go decorate. And one of the things that I can remember during our homecoming week, we were in the old building, and we had Miss Artigo for our business teacher. And we had already chosen our queen and all this. We don't do it like y'all do. You had one freshman maid, one sophomore maid, one junior maid, one senior maid, and a homecoming queen. There was only 5 girls on court. And we were upstairs, I was, in my typing class or business English class. And we could hear some noises downstairs, and you could hear all kind of laughing and hollering. And Miss Ortigo ran to the window, and she just says, you know, I don't even know what she told us. She said, I'm leaving, and she said, y'all just be quiet, I'm going to be right back. Well, we all flew to the window. Well, there was our homecoming queen and 2 other girls in my senior class that were leaving school without permission. And to hide, they got in back of one of the guys' trucks. One of the boys was in ag, and they were going to town to do something. And they thought, well, we're going to go with y'all, and we're just going to hide. So they laid flat in the bed of the truck, and they made a lot of noise when they hit the bed of the truck. And no one would have seen except Miss Ortigo went and looked out her window, and she could see these 3 girls hiding. Well, needless to say, they got suspended during homecoming week. And we didn't know if we were going to have a homecoming queen or not. It was a very big mess. But anyway, she was able to receive the crown that night for homecoming. And the athletic banquet was a little bit different than what y'all have it, because it was the pep squad that put it on. I don't know if it's still the pep squad that puts it on. Okay, well, and it was always held in the lunch kitchen. And it was really crowded in there when we had it. The junior-senior banquet was the same thing. You had a meal. We held ours at LSUE in the forum at LSUE. And Miss Ortigo was the one that always helped the juniors. I think she was the junior sponsor. And you'd sit down with a book deciding what kind of theme you wanted. And we had the meal over there. And we had all week, for 2 weeks at least, you worked on the junior-senior the prophecies in the wheel. The juniors had the prophecies, the seniors wheeled to the juniors. And it really got out of hand our junior and senior year. When I was a junior, we hated the seniors. And things really got a little out of hand. It really got ugly. There was, I don't remember all the wheels, but it was bad.
Miss LeDoux was a senior when Miss Miller was a junior.
And we hated them, okay?
Explain a little bit more, what is a prophecy, what is a wheel?
Okay.
Give an example, maybe.
One of the things that I can remember, my junior year, some of the girls got a pacifier. They said, they named 2 of the girls. They said, would y'all please come up? And something, they prophesied that they would never grow up and that they would always stay young children. Would y'all please come up here? We have something for y'all. And you got to understand, we all in long formal dresses. And they go up and they get a pacifier from these girls that you can't stand, okay? The wheels were the seniors that, like, okay, let's say if you were overweight, there was some of them that got this, you were a little overweight, well, they would wheel to you that you would be the head of the Weight Watchers division, you know, when you got out of school. It was things like this, and it was really, it wasn't nothing nice.
Those
It was
are probably
really
the nicer ones.
Yeah, it was.
Then
It
usually
really
we would
was.
disguise them. Like some
Yeah.
of them, the teachers had no idea
You had
what
to
it
talk
was
about
that you were trying to say about it, but everybody else knew. All the kids knew.
We all knew.
So a lot of things were done that were said about the people that only the kids knew, and it was disguised in some way that the teachers had no idea. And when it was said, everybody just started laughing, and you were completely and totally embarrassed.
Yeah.
Were y'all getting prophecies ever published in the yearbook?
In
No,
the
we didn't have a
newspaper.
yearbook. We
Oh.
published it in the newspaper.
In the newspaper,
Yeah,
it
we
would come
published
out.
it.
You want to hear?
Yeah, there's some back there. Why don't you read a couple?
George's
Okay, this is one for Brock's mama. Okay?
So we all have prophecies.
It's a prophecy.
Prophecy.
Connie Conti, Artigo, after graduation, will invent a car that will go 10 miles on empty. You know, so apparently maybe she used the excuse they ran out of gas, you know, often when she was late, or, you know, there may have been a special senior that maybe she was out with her boyfriend that night, you know, and the senior wanted to get back at her. So
They
say
knew a
something
story
ugly.
behind it.
I remember one particular one that I thought was really bad, and nobody knew what it meant except for us, of course. The teachers didn't understand. It was something to do with, I don't remember who the girl was, but it was that she was going to invent a new push-button screen. That was the idea, that this girl was going to invent a new push-button screen for your windows. Like if you want to open a window, a screen window, you just push a button, the screen comes up. Well, supposedly what the story was behind is that this girl was letting boys in through her window. Yeah. See, and that's what we all knew about, but the teachers had no idea what a push-button screen meant. So that was an embarrassing thing for that girl.
We all knew, and it really got out of hand. Georgie's senior year was the last year that they quit it. She was a year behind me, and we did it to them our junior, senior year, and their senior year they stopped it. It had really gotten to where it wasn't fun anymore. It was really getting ugly.
You were always tense and wondering what they were going to say about you.
It was really embarrassing. It was nothing nice. It was, they tried to get to the nitty-gritty.
Do some good ones now.
Yeah, really. And, and homecoming week, we were, it's okay. We got together at the flagpole, and my junior year was the first year that they started with a homecoming king. And Monty Pearson was the first one that they voted. The pep squad had chosen, and Monty Pearson was the first homecoming king. And then our senior year, it was Randy Bello that had got homecoming king. And they just made them a little crown, and it was something that they started that year. It was voted on by the pep squad. And we played the horse often. The horse was like victory maybe is to y'all, or whatever y'all's fight song is. The horse was played a lot. Looking back, my high school years were one of the best exciting times of your life. It should be. You think that it's not. You think, your mom's still telling you what time you have to come in and stuff like this. But it's one of the most carefree times, and a time with your friends. You can enjoy each other. We had we get together and have a lot of keg parties. We did things like that. We always did things as a class. One of our parties we had at a camp, and we had one of the girls, we were going to barbecue. We had one of the girls catch on fire.
They know that girl. Tell them who it was, because she teaches in elementary.
Teaches, I'm sorry, it's Julie Shamo, Julie Fontenot.
Julie Fontenot.
She caught on fire.
Yes, she caught on fire. She had a big scar on her arm, too, from that.
We were at in the country out there.
At my daddy's woodland,
at
my daddy's
woodland.
camp.
And we had set the pit, and when we realized something, it was Beckett, your sister. We had to stop and see about Julie.
They threw some gas up to light the fire.
Yeah,
and it caught by Julie.
Came back on her. It was a cup of gasoline, and the cup of gasoline caught on. Then when they went to pour the gasoline onto the pit, the cup caught on fire, and whoever had it in their hand threw it, and it landed on her. And she ran into the truck door. There was a truck door that was open, and she ran to the truck door. She spun around, and that's when I think it was Neil who jumped on top of her and put out the fire, and then we rushed her.
She had really bad burns, and this was one of our parties. We had some good times at our parties. And let me think what else. There was something else I'd like to tell y'all.
You told them about the senior trip? You told them about the trip?
Oh no, we didn't have a senior trip with a class. We got together and we decided we were going to go somewhere. I think there was 10 of us, 5 boys and 5 girls, and we went on a senior trip, and we went to Florida. And when I tell y'all, they loaded 40 cases of beer in our team. It was really bad, but we really had a good time. I felt like we really had a close class.
Do you remember that trip at all?
Oh yeah. We really had a close class, and we really had a lot of spirit. And fighting for the spirit stick was one of the best things that we could remember. At every pet rally, you had the bands, what's the band's fight song, the freshman, junior, senior, and you made posters all the time, and you had to get that spirit stick. That was the thing, especially our junior year, when we hated the seniors so much. If we could outdo those seniors, oh, that was something. And we did. We really had a lot of spirit with our class. And I guess that's about it I can think of. If there's any questions.
Tell us how you dress.
We had
Tell about BBs.
it was some BB jeans that you go buy at Lewis Wright's. Do you remember, Kay? You go get them at Lewis Wright's. That's where they had them, and they were some low hip hugger kind of things. Yeah,
About this big.
and you wear this big belt with it, and
And you wear them as long as possible. So
oh yeah,
you
they
step
had a
on.
cuff on it, and your cuff would usually wear out before the jean would, because when you stand, you know, you didn't have no shoe showing. That whole cuff covered the shoe.
Wait, tell them how high the shoes were.
And the shoes were really like high, like this platform kind of shoes. We wore that. Made you look tall.
Like Frankenstein, y'all. Kid you not.
And then you even had some crochet belts that you'd wear. Your belt would hang to your knee, you know, so you were really in style.
And straight hair. Tell them about wrapping your hair.
Okay, that's, well, our hair was really straight. There was no perm, there was no nothing. You just washed it and it hung. That's what it looked like. And then after you wash your hair, you wrap it. You put 2 big rollers here, and you just wrap your head the whole way, your hair, the whole way around your head. And you let it dry, and then you let it go. And you wrap it the other way so it would be straighter. And that's the look, just straight, ugly, hanging hair. Part down the middle. And that's what we do to go out. We all went to the Peacock, and we'd go, it was a place where they sold liquor, so a lot of them, the parents wouldn't let them go, but our parents would come sit there at the Peacock.
Tell them about the first time we ever went. You remember the first time we went? When your daddy drove us and we must have piled 10 people in the car?
Oh, my daddy brought us one time, and to me that was no big deal. I didn't care if he was there or not, as long as I was there, and I was having a good time. He sat at the bar. My mama has brought us, Julie's mama, Sue's mama. Our mothers would bring us until we were old enough to go on our own. The mamas hated it because they said it was loud, it was smoke filled, you know, and stuff like this, which it was. And we were never ready to go, never. But it didn't bother us if our parents were there or not, as long as we were there. We felt so big. And I guess that's about it, really. But your high school is really one of the best times of your life.
You want to ask anything to either Clay or Debbie?
How y'all drink when y'all go? Or y'all is too young? Well, I don't understand. What's y'all tired?
Be honest.
Be honest.
Okay, yeah, I guess we would. I don't remember. I remember, well, when our parents were there, I guess we wouldn't, we'd sneak. But I remember one time Candace Clump brought us, and Christine Bacon, that was the other one. Christine and Candace brought us. And we sure drank that night, I can tell you, because that wasn't our mama. You know, we didn't get polluted or nothing, but we'd always drink.
It was much easier then to get alcohol than it is today.
Yeah.
And of course now, you know, the legal drinking age is actually 21. Back then it was only 18. But they
And
never
let me
really
tell
asked
you
for IDs.
To
Never.
go to a football game, the band had a bus and the pep squad had a bus. They each had a bus. A band member would not ride on the pep squad bus unless there was extra room. And then you had to go, Miss Badgeron would come in and say, okay, there's 4 spaces on the pep squad bus. That was the fun thing riding the pep squad bus, because they scream and they yell and they holler, and every town you go into, they'd raise all kind of hell. So she'd come in and she'd say, any seniors want to ride? And you'd work your way down the line until it got to 8th grade or 7th grade. And if you were lucky, you got to ride on the pep squad bus. And I do remember one time when Miss Elford was the sponsor that some of the girls had brought some liquor into an ice chest, but she never found out. But those were the older girls, you know, so yeah, we did things that we were lucky we didn't get caught sometimes. What else y'all want to know?
No questions? You're not curious about something else? No? Okay, well, let's give them a nice round of applause.